Council members, I know you're busy back there, but I'd like to drag you up here for a few minutes because the first thing that we have to tend to involves council as well. Yeah. First, I'd like to call the meeting in order. I'd like to have roll call, please.
Cam Collier.
Here.
Bill Carbach.
Here.
Ken Meyer.
Here. You're all emailed a copy of the minutes from our May 16th meeting. I have a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Motion and a second to approve the minutes from May 16th. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, the same. Thank you. Now, first thing on the agenda tonight is Mr. Rod Rinkenberger. Rod, first I want to introduce you to Scott Murray. Rod Rinkenberger. Have you met?
No. Yeah, I work at
I said, you probably have met at some point.
Hi, buddy. Hello. How are you? I got a present for you in that car.
Just sit back to you on your desk. Hey,
That was fun.
he'll be taking Cam's place.
Oh, okay.
It's that time again where Rod wants to talk to us about flood mitigation and possible buyouts for the next year. And this year things are a little different. He's got stars on a board, and they're color-coded. So, Rod, go ahead, take it away.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to come down and speak with you again. What I wanted to start out with is just to put a map up on the screen, and it's not the entire map, but it's mainly been the focus area that we've been working at. And the green stars represent those properties that we've already purchased. I got a cheat here in just a minute. The pink ones are in the grant that you allowed or helped fund last year, and we're waiting on the state and local grant agreement. And as soon as we receive that, we'll purchase those. And then, it's been probably a little over a month ago, I met with Roger Gage and Kurt Liddy, basically to prioritize the next round of properties to look at for buyouts. And those are represented by the dark blue. And then you'll see some turquoise ones, and if you'd like, I can try to zoom in on that a little bit, if that helps at all.
Yep.
The turquoise ones are ones that have signed up for the buyout program. Initially, they were going to all be listed as alternates in the grant application in the event one of the primary candidates had passed. But in Decatur, we've been very fortunate. We've never had one single property owner turn us down, and that, to me, that speaks volumes to this community and its commitment to mitigating flood damages. And so subsequent to Roger and Kurt and I meeting, then I had asked to meet with the mayor and Phyllis and Roger and Kurt, because I had just came from the National Floodplain Managers Conference, and there's a big concern that at the national level that the FEMA programs, we know they're going to be funded in FY18, but there's a great concern that they may be cut in FY19. I also had a meeting with the Indiana Department of Homeland Security. They're encouraging my communities to apply for as many acquisitions as they possibly can afford, knowing that FY18 money is there, but there's no guarantees after in FY19. So based on that conversation and that meeting, Mayor Meyer asked me to come down and give you a series of proposals. And what I did is I prepared 5. And I'm going to switch screens here. And I'm glad that I provided you with hard copies, because these are probably going to be a little hard to read on the screen. This first option, number 1, would represent those 10 dark blue priority homes, and those are the properties that are listed that would be included. And this would be just a little over $1 million project. 75% cost share from FEMA, and the good news is that thanks to Mayor Meyer and a number of folks and your county commissioners, there was a lot of lobbying done this past legislative session, and the Maumee River Basin Commission actually received some capital project money for the first time since 1995. And so that is allowing us, in this first example here, I'm showing that we're going to pitch in $125,000. Our last buyout that we did with you, we could only contribute, I think it was 31 or 35,000. So a substantial increase in our share to help offset the local share. Another thing that I've done is this last project was the first one that the city has provided in-kind service on the demolition. And what I've done is I've boosted up the demolition cost a little bit. So that means that as long as you're offering that as in-kind, that's going to offset any type of a cash match that you would have to provide. So if we went after a 10-house purchase, it would be broken down that the city would provide an in-kind match through the demolition of $80,000. The Maumee River Basin Commission would contribute $125,000. The city of Decatur's cash match would be $49,808.75. And if you have
Do you recall, Phyllis, when the 6 that we did this last go-around, didn't we have an outlay of 30-some thousand for those? That's what does that sound right to you guys? Seemed like we had...
I can check real quick.
You got it there?
Rod probably has it. I might have it in my red photo sheet somewhere. Yeah. Local Maumee River Basin gave $35,000, and the cities was $62,718.
62,000.
But the in-kind was $45,000.
And the in-kind was how much? 45,000?
Yeah, $45,000.
That was, yeah, for the 6 homes that were awarded.
Yeah. So we did 6 homes, and we put in 62,000. And this time around, Rod is able to do 10 homes for 49,000 out of city's pocket. Huge difference.
If you notice over here, I tried to give you the average cost per structure that we, on this particular 10-home project, would be just a little over $100,000, and that would be all-inclusive. That would be the cost of the appraisals, all the legal work, the title work, the acquisition, the demolition, environmental remediation, the entire package cost per structure, just a little over $100,000. Your previous average cost share contribution was a little over $10,000. And on this particular example, or option 1, I've dropped it down to $49.80. So less than half of what cost per structure of the last grant that we did together. And again, I want to say kudos to our state senators and state representatives, because
Absolutely.
they collectively were able to get us in the budget again.
I've got a question, Rod.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything we can do about this, but there's some homes down there that are being neglected, okay? And they're homes that, as a city, we'd be better off to have them gone, but the homes are, the people owe more on them than we can even offer. And as we do away with these other homes, to me, that the people can actually afford to accept our offer. What do we do with these 2 or 3 homes that I just have fits with because the people just they don't care, okay? And they've left them get to the point, yards, the home itself, and they know that they cannot get out of them because we're not going to offer them. I mean, there's probably nothing we can do about that?
There actually is. When we find, and we've been very fortunate here in Decatur, I think when Mayor Ish was still here, we had about 6 or 7 houses that were in that position where they owed more than what we could offer, and I ended up negotiating short sales on all of those. And we were very, very fortunate, and we still would do that for the folks if they're interested. And what we try to do is protect them the best we can. We prevent, or at least ask, as part of the agreement, that the banks not issue a 1099-C on them for the cancellation of debt, because when they do, they are technically supposed to claim it as income. So we try to, in our negotiations, ask the banks to agree not to issue a 1099-C. The other thing we can do, if they're in a hardship, I can actually write a hardship letter. Now, if it's due to neglect and they just don't care, then that makes it a little more difficult. But there are some tools out there that we can use to try to resolve that situation.
So these homes down in that neighborhood in the floodplain?
Yeah. In fact, the home that we're taking down, or did take down, is right next door to this house I'm talking about.
So do they have a star on them or not?
That's what I was wondering. You want me to put that map back out?
Yeah, you can. They're down there by the cul-de-sac where we had the boat ramp.
Meadow Lane.
Meadow Lane, yeah.
They're rough.
Yeah, Wiley knows which one we're talking about because...
Yeah, there's...
It's not, I don't think.
The 3 in the pink will come down in this next buyout.
It's one of those with the white addresses on it, or?
Yeah.
It's probably that 421. Which number is it, Wiley?
It's right there. Yeah, that's the one.
This one right there?
Exactly.
It's in the floodplain that they just haven't volunteered.
Yeah,
Well, I
yeah.
think they
If
did.
you, I'm glad you asked that question. That's something I forgot to address. The ones that do not have any stars, we have yet to receive a statement of voluntary participation. And that, when Kurt, Roger, and I met, one of our primary goals, and we shared this with the mayor, we would like to be able to say that this entire street of Meadow Lanes is totally mitigated, and that your emergency services folks don't have to respond to there. But the program, unfortunately, is hampered by the willingness of the participants. And right now, those 3 right there and this one have not signed any voluntary participation form. And we even was trying to be proactive, and about 2 months ago, I believe it was, we sent out a letter to all of those that had not signed up and trying to encourage them that the application period was coming very soon, and to try to submit those statements if they were interested, and we did get 3 back.
Yeah, the other one's in the pink, but I don't know, I might have to get with Kurt. We may just have to work with this family and see if we can insist the one in the white on the, across the street, yeah. If we can kind of insist that they, I don't know how we do that. No, it's not a rental. It's owned by those people, and those people are just non-receptive. They, like Rod said, they just won't, they don't want to cooperate or whatever, so, yeah. Okay. So, yeah, it may be a situation where...
And we could actually, there's a borderline that we try not to cross in terms of voluntary versus a strong arm encouragement.
You're right.
But I mean, I'd be more than willing, with either Kurt or someone to go out and speak with those folks, before we would submit an
I
application.
guess, there is a question there, do they even understand it? Some people reading that letter is not going to necessarily understand it.
That is true.
Bill, have you talked to them? I mean, did they tell you that they...
I've not talked
Okay,
to
I
them.
thought...
I just, I know, well, Roger and I kind of got the information that they're like more on the home, that they're not the ones that's going to be real receptive to take the cut or whatever. I mean, whatever we offer. So.
Sounds like they're upside down on the house.
Yeah.
And actually, believe it or not, we have found that some of those candidates are the first to jump on board because they have an opportunity to get out from underneath that saddle, if you will. And maybe you're right, maybe they don't quite understand that.
Exactly. Maybe Wiley's got the point that we can maybe help them and kind of talk them into this on a personal basis and a cooperative basis instead of strong arm, which we don't want to do yet. Okay, that was just a question.
I think that would be good, if maybe you and Kurt, and even if you want me to go, I'll go too, that we could arrange to just talk with them and see if they really understand. Because like you said, it'd be really nice if we could have that whole street done.
Yeah, I think that's where you're going with these other options, but I look at, if we leave just one or two homes on a street, it's really...
the street.
Right. I mean,
And sewer, water.
exactly.
Yeah,
Internet and grassland.
it's been sort of frustrating at the mayoral level and at Roger's level and at my level, because we know what our end goal needs to be, but it's that voluntary component that has really put a wrinkle in being able to try to mitigate, certain sections. This, if I may, this next option is option 2, and it includes the same 10 homes as option 1, but I've added 2 additional homes. And they would be 2 on Parkview. The total cost on this one is $1.2 million. It's sort of blurry, isn't it? There we go. 1.2 million. FEMA again funding 75%. Local share would be 301,000, and the breakdown would be 96,000 Decatur in-kind mats through the demolitions, 149,000, 178.75 from the Maumee River Basin Commission, and then 56,000, 135 from the City of Decatur. And again, average cost share per house dropped just a little bit at 99,000. Current cash contribution would drop to about 46.77 per structure in this option.
And that's doubling what we did last year, and it's still less.
And again, it's because of Maumee Basin being able to receive state funding that we can come back, because in our original buyout program, when we started in '97, we were actually funding the entire 25% when we bought the homes on Aug Street. And then as our funds kept dwindling, we couldn't afford to offer the match.
Still, what you do is a great help.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. Huge.
Okay, I'll go to option 3.
So this was what we had previously... And having Jeremy be willing to tear them down.
Yeah.
Jeremy, if we would do that many in one year, would you be able to?
I don't think we've...
Well,
It's all how the timing and stuff spaced out.
I know, but we...
you have to take into consideration, we have a flood. This program is like,
Mhm.
You guys do an awesome job.
Right, which previously would have been
helps the citizens,
$100,000.
looking at these figures, you can't go wrong.
Which is,
Mm-mm.
Yeah, you really can't.
we can go way up to
And-
Project
and-
4, still be under.
For Jeremy and council members, a project of this magnitude, we would have a minimum of 2 years. We would actually, and I shared this with Phyllis when we met with the mayor, this would actually be bridged over a two-year budget. And it would allow, that way we're not taxing the street department.
I was gonna say.
Trying to rush this all at once.
Right.
We would phase it in over a minimum of 2.
And our contribution, we could spread between our 18 and 19 budget?
Absolutely.
Yeah, this doesn't jump down to the bottom page.
Well, I want to, can you go back real quick? The very first one, the 10 that were originally the Blue Stars. And I'm just trying to remember, I know we hadn't necessarily committed to, but we had budgeted, we were planning for another 10 homes, right? Or was it 5?
Originally, it was 5 a year.
The most we did was 6, and that was this year.
Yeah.
We're in 16.
There were 25 left, and it was 5 a year for 5 years. But now there's more money,
Right.
which he's saying is going to dry up if we don't take advantage of it.
I guess where I'm going with that is if we had 6 before and we had an average cost of 60 or 10,000, right there we were already planning on $60,000 to $70,000. If you forward that, you go like Project 4, Proposal 4, you're awful close to what we had previously earmarked, and you're going to get 18 homes.
Right.
A lot more work for Jeremy and his guys, but
Well, and can you budget that, Jeremy?
Which you do over 2 years.
It's budgeted through you guys.
We would, and the way I understand it, since we can spread this out, we could budget part of our match in our 2018 budget and part in our 2019 budget. And by doing it that way, it would actually cost us less than we've been paying.
And what's the difference
Right,
between 4 and
because
5?
you have to keep in mind, you've already been awarded 6.
Mhm.
So you gotta have 6 this year. Right. And then however you choose on this next package over 2 years. So it's actually a 3-year project.
Mhm. The 6 for this year, but that money's already budgeted. Then we're getting ready to do our 18 budget, would throw so much in and so much into the 19. And
So basically you just...
And I know that-
It's a 3-year mitigation project.
If you, okay, you're doing 6 this year and you can manage 6, and we've got the budgeted funds for that. If we did the maximum that Rod's proposing, which is 18, do you break it down, you do 9 and 18 and 9 and 19?
Yeah,
Is that what you would do?
as long as we don't wait till the very last
Of
day to
19.
get started on it.
Yeah.
And can you get help, can you farm some of this out also, Jeremy? I mean, and stay
With our in-kind...
and stay within the budget, huh?
Correct, correct.
Yeah.
can we, does Proposal 4 take care of everything in that area? Because the next one, I think you were asking, Matt, that's another area of town.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last proposal was taking all of the statement of voluntary participation forms that we have and throwing them in the mix. And I just threw it there as an option. I didn't figure that, I'm not advocating that, because obviously the city's cost share jumps tremendously. And why that happened is on option 4, the Maumee River Basin Commission's cost share. At our board meeting last Thursday night, I presented a proposal of different scenarios, and they were asking me to stay as close to the $200,000 mark as possible. And in option 4, I went up to $216,000, and I know I don't dare go over that $216,000. And so in option 5, you're losing out on
Yep.
the MRBC's extra match.
Our best buy for the money is option 4, yes. Now, if we could go down and talk to these people on Meadow Lane and convince them, then the bottom 4 on this list would drop off? Is that what we would do?
On option 4, yeah, I would want, I
Keep in mind, I mean, 2 of those are on Mercer Avenue even, so I mean, it's not like they're in the,
yeah.
it's not like, yeah, we want to, if we want to get Meadow Lane
Yeah,
remediated.
that should be a priority.
Yeah.
Eliminating, if possible, eliminating that street.
You know, like Rod and I talked, and Roger, it's been 3 months ago, you come down. If you look at these areas, if you can do away with the homes on these streets,
Mhm.
you know, I think either Tyler or Greg brought it up, is you're not dealing with infrastructure. You're not dealing with aging water. You're not dealing, NIPSCO's not dealing with their aging gas and such. Then there's really no need of plowing. You know, you can take the street out and turn all green space if it floods, it floods. You know, you're not
When there's a
hurting.
flood, there's no homes down there to have to
There's nothing-
sandbag,
there's nothing to worry
there's nothing to clean up.
You know, so, and that's one of the areas that does have a lot of really aging infrastructure.
Okay, so, we don't need a decision tonight, right?
Right.
You just wanted to I just wanted you to present this to everyone, let's all ponder this, and then maybe you and I and Kurt can go down and make some visits,
Yeah,
and, what do you think, a month from now come back, or how
well,
soon would you need to?
the sooner the better. If I knew that coming tonight, there would not be any formal decision
Right.
made. But the application period is probably going to open up in August or very early September. It's a little later this year, thank God, which has given us some more time to plan. But to start building an application, if I could just have at least an inkling of where if I know you're definitely interested in the top 10 priority, at least I can start putting an application together.
Well, I can't legally take a vote among council
Yeah.
and Board of Works meeting, but I can sit there and tell you that I think we're pretty,
I think
looking
number
option
4
4.
kind of sounds like everybody's thinking. I'm just sort of looking into everybody's brain.
Yeah, I mean, the more that you can do, and if you can prioritize and focus on cleaning up certain areas and eliminating all of them, and if that means going back to those who have not already said they want to volunteer,
Try to re-explain it to them
Mhm.
that we,
Yeah, exactly.
for the sake of everybody, this whole area really should be,
Because you don't want to have to end up putting money back into a street that shouldn't.
Right.
a handful of
Parkview
homes.
Drive should never been built.
Yeah, and they
It was
may
allowed
change
50 years ago.
their mind after they see a lot of their neighbors are gone.
Right. Well, and we had talked about that they may not really understand the whole program.
Wind up
They're not-
being an island out there by themselves.
Well, indeed, I wonder if maybe even some of the people that have already participated would be helpful in trying to explain to these people that it was very beneficial to them, and it will be to them too.
That's an excellent idea.
So I don't know if there's some people that we could enlist to try to go out and kind of be ambassadors for this program.
I'm just curious, do we know the people who participated, where they ended up going? Relocating?
All over.
Yeah.
Most of them we do, and we've been pretty, again, Decatur is what I call, I always refer to Decatur as my poster child, because Decatur has made the strongest commitment mitigation-wise, and they've also had the greatest success in retaining their citizens. Because one of the things that I know that the clerk treasurers always worry about is that tax money coming in. And so we do everything we can to try to encourage them to stay within the Decatur community. I think we maybe had 3 or 4 that have, out of the 70, well, I guess we haven't got to 74 bought yet, but, with the ones coming up, we'll have bought 74 houses. And the vast majority of them have all stayed here in Decatur.
And the ones that we've bought out are pretty well rooted here, and they want to, I know that this last go-around, which was my first year attending the closings and whatever, some of them were like, we're still looking, and then there were others who were chomping at the bit, let's get this closed, and we would sign one check and give them another check for their down payment, so, yeah, it's pretty neat.
It's a very good program.
Sure is. So, well, you know, we only have our next meeting's June 20th, and then the following meeting after that's going to be July what did we decide, guys? The 3rd? 5th? 5th.
Why do we need to hold up? We're all saying we need to do plan 4.
Well, we can't take a council vote in a Board of Works meeting.
Well, can you take it
Take it to council.
tonight?
Yeah. All you need is to know how many, right?
Yeah. At least for discussion.
I have no problem waiting until your next meeting.
Well, I didn't know if you wanted to go down and try to talk to these homes and have an actual list before we,
Open the lid up.
or do you just want to?
That might be best.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Hold up. Talk to them.
Yeah.
2 weeks sounds good.
And you can come back and have galley fish in 2 weeks. You know?
You know, I will make a comment. If this happens, Kurt's going to look really good compared to Roger. He's doing 18 homes. Roger's, the most he had was 6.
We'll let Roger know.
And Gerber's
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they met with folks at Community Family Services today. So,
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
All right, anything else for now, Rod?
No, I think that's it. Thank you very much.
We'll see you on the 20th at the council meeting, all right?
Okay.
And give me and Kurt a call, and
Okay.
we'll go to work. Council members, you can go back and do the claims again if you want now. I just wanted to get Rod in and get him out of here. No reason to take up his
See
whole
what a
meeting.
good Purdue guy can do.
I knew there was something, a smile about him that resembled Purdue.
I had one home down there that sandbagged, it was a couple years ago, and the sandbags were up there till 2 or 3 months ago. I stopped and said, we got it clean, your sandbags were there. They have this whole thing. I got a call from on that lane, oh, wow, sandbags.
Yeah.
How do we get insurance from the city, $1 or whatever? It's going to drive me crazy. I'd ask how the neighbors have to be living.
Are these ones down at the police station or what? The ones they found
Over there by the city pool
Yeah.
for 2 or 3 years, we were talking, if we could sell it to this Lutheran community, they would provide transfer
Marvel.
to get to town to get involved in things like that. I just wanted to have some discussion so I could share with you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I just...
Sorry I didn't get on the agenda, just had it today.
There's a procedure, if it's under a certain amount.
That's when you start making the business portion. We're not going to put money into the infrastructure.
The value of it, I don't know. I
It becomes the last priority.
They usually have an auction, and the police just have an auction, and they sell them that way. Every time, it's usually, I don't know, most expensive.
Okay.
Just keep around and give them to needy church kids and stuff like that.
Okay.
Bring get food for thought.
Phyllis, the County Road 50 that we brought into the city, this is the county road that borders St. Mark's Church and the cemetery. You have we would just need to make a matter of record, the quit claim deed that this is now been taken care of and is now in the city limits. Second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Jeremy, let's talk about the big brick house at the corner of First and Monroe. And you might want to jump in on this too. The brick home, apartment building, Italian restaurant, right over here at the corner. Take care about it. Thank you. It was found to have had some, how do we say it? The sanitation.
Their sewer tap is in a storm sewer. But it's been there probably for 100 years.
But after we did our sewer project is when this was really...
Yeah, with the relocation of the interceptor, CSO 9 is now just stormwater, it's not combined. So that house cannot be in the storm sewer for the tap. Because there's still, I don't know, a few street inlets that go out 9, but it's not at CSO, it's just stormwater. So their tap needs to be moved to the east side of the building, which is a big undertaking, I guess.
It's, they've taken 3 samples, and it's failed all 3 samples. So it's definitely...
Yeah, we know that it's in there, but...
The problem that you're running into is there's a couple drops in that apartment building. What I'm calling drops is where they come out and go out. It's going to be very expensive.
Couple? 3? 2?
There's at least 2 or 3. It's going to be very expensive for someone to take care of.
And the question is...
It's going to have to be addressed, obviously, because now IDEM knows.
Yeah, we need to get that CSO off our permit, but we can't until we prove that it's a stormwater outlet. And it's not a stormwater outlet with that house.
Is there any possibility it's coming from sources other than the house? Is that the only place where it could be coming from?
There was one across the street, and it was corrected during the project, or shortly after the project.
The bank.
That is the only one right there that's connected to there. Merlin's had spent quite a bit of time on this. If it would have been connected to the sanitary, they would have crossed it or went through it when they bored that, when they bored it in there. So that got him thinking, okay, where is it? Because we identified all the other taps along there and made sure that they were put in the right place.
And you gotta remember that while that is just one big structure, there's 6 apartments in there, so I don't know how many inhabitants altogether, but...
In a normal situation like this, we would supply them a tap and then they would have to connect. Being that it's owned out of state, I don't know how easy it's going to be. We're definitely going to need more support and basically Tim writing letters to assure that this happens probably sooner than later. You know, you're on this agreed order with IDEM, now it's been identified that it's a problem. We're going to have to address it soon.
I think the guy that manages it lives up Monroeville, doesn't he?
No, it is actually, Rex Green is the local contact now.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's sold to a family or an individual in California.
Oh, yeah, I knew it was out of state, but yeah.
Rex Green is actually the local contact.
Okay.
Rex let us in to look around in the basement to see where the drops go. They don't go that way.
So-
They come out the first and they come out from Monroe Street.
When you say very expensive, you got an idea?
They're going to have to replumb the whole inside of that basement. They're 15, probably, 15,000, 10, 15,000.
So less expensive than buying it and tearing it down.
It depends. It all depends on how they, because see, it's not going to be just as easy as running a pipe through the wall. There's other issues. There's washing machines, the drain in the floor, that they're going to have to.
The only reason I said it is because I know that Larry,
I know where you're going.
because Larry had been talking to the owner,
Yeah, supposedly just recently sent another letter.
but they just put a new roof on it 2 years ago.
This sewer issue is probably going to be more expensive than the roof that they just put on. Depends on how extensively, or how expensive it gets once they get in there and start getting things to go properly. It may be a conversation, yeah.
Okay, so let's back up a second, because I have a question. Back at the time when the lateral was run and tied into the sewer was a combined sewer, right? It was a combined stormwater and sanitary sewer, and it's been that way ever since. And then in the 80s and since, we've been slowly separating the two. We've now done that in this area, and now we find that this was never...
Well, I think we were aware that that one was not part of the separated area. There's certain places where the sewers were so unreachable. You know, we went down separating, but there were ones that were not included. Yeah, cost prohibitive.
Okay. So in other areas where laterals were tied into a combined sewer line and we separated there, how did we handle those? Did we just provide a new tap and then it was up to them?
Some were just, yeah, they were existing. Where they were existing, it wasn't. In the 80s, I think they gave every house a new tap up to the structure. And then after that, it was all just street connections.
But you're saying the primary cost is going to be within the structure, not up to the structure. Is that right?
Structure, correct. There will be some expense outside because you're going to have to run a pretty long distance. Probably 110, 150 feet to get up there.
What's the cost of that?
You're about a little over $4 a foot for the material. So
$4,000 to $5,000 for the materials plus labor.
probably double that or 1.5 one time of that to get over there.
So realistically, you could have a total of 30+ thousand to make this happen.
Correct.
I was late to this conversation, but is it available to buy it and make it go away?
Not really, not yet.
So,
Working on it.
you know, we just need some guidance on how you want to approach this.
Well, I assume IDEM is going to demand that we address it.
They want basically a date on...
They want some kind of an agreed order or something?
Or something of our...
We're supposed to tell IDEM by August what our plan is to take care of.
Is the bond... Nice threatening letter, sounds good to me, Tim.
Well, I mean...
Can make a plan, anyway.
Yeah.
Is the bond for that, is that closed out? I mean, the money for the entire project?
We're paying on the bond.
Well, I mean,
Is that what you
but
mean?
is there available?
Oh, other projects?
Yeah.
Could we include it as part of houses that we don't need?
Well,
We're negligent here too.
well, it's not,
We're negligent here also.
I wouldn't say negligent, but normally what we would do is provide a new outlet for their line, and they're typically, most individuals in other locations would be responsible for running their new lateral and doing any internal plumbing. And I guess what we have to figure out is this something that's different than what we've experienced elsewhere, and it sounds like it is.
It is. Your normal deal in a single residence home, that would be one
So
line coming out.
and I think what...
This is multi with multi-lines coming out.
What Cam, I think, is saying is that if
We identified two, if not three.
if we borrowed, how much do we have left of the bond issue that we didn't apply towards the, isn't it about $600,000 or $700,000 roughly?
Oh, I don't know that one, but we've got a good amount left.
And I know that that's anticipated to be used for a lot of these other projects to keep down the next round, but if we have to address this, we have to address it, and maybe that's a source that could be tapped to try to come up with a way to...
Yeah, and I wasn't necessarily saying buy the house. That's not what I was just simply saying that if it's a $15,000 to $30,000 expense, would that be
Well,
appropriate?
30 sounds better than 80, I'm telling you, but it'd be nice to have that house gone.
And we're gonna spend 30 also, right? Or 15?
No, that's-
15 and 15 is what...
15
Yeah, basically,
Yeah, okay.
I mean,
Well, no, I
maybe,
was saying if we paid for all of it.
maybe what we do is we put them on notice that there's an issue that has to be addressed. We have to give item and answer by August. If they're willing to cooperate with the city, maybe the city kicks in some money towards the lateral. They pay the interior costs, and if they're not willing to do that, then we're not going to pay for the lateral, in which case they're going to be cut off from access to the sewer, and it's going to be a pump, in which case they're going to lose the value of their property. The alternative is, if they want to make a reasonable offer to sell it to the city could consider that as well.
That's gonna be deep enough, you're gonna have to hire either a Fleming or Luke and Bill to run that tap over there. As deep as that is in the basement and as deep as that line is, so that figure's probably not too far off.
Where do all those 6 lines come into the city?
like that first line.
Separately, or is
I
that-
think
We can't make a decision without knowing what the homeowner's
They
going
want
to do.
one right
If they're saying we're not gonna put $20,000 into
So there's
this,
all different taps.
Then we're not
Why
going
would
to
we
put
bother?
we're not going to put in a new lateral.
Bill, which house are you talking about?
I like
Monroe
your
and First, that big
suggestion
house.
there.
Guaranteed money.
Right here on
Would someone want to propose to Tim?
I will make a proposal that
He was just in
we
contact.
send a letter to the owner of the building to explain the situation, proposing that, we will do the lateral if they're willing to do the interior. If they're not, then we gotta...
Larry was just in contact with that owner in
Yeah.
the last couple of weeks.
Well, he's tried. Has he actually talked to them?
I thought he said he did.
I mean, if the owner's not willing, then
Try to call him when we're done.
I don't know. Did my proposal make sense? We're clear on that?
Yeah,
I should say.
yeah. You second that idea?
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor of that?
Aye.
Okay. And sorry to push you, Tim, but probably should be moving on that since we have a time limit we're working with here. So maybe you can go home to work and get that done tonight. Okay. Jeremy, don't go away. I emailed everyone about a home at the corner of Grant and High Street that belongs to the hospital.
It's just property,
A
right?
lot, yeah, not a home, a lot. Hospital owns lot 893 at the corner of High Street and Grant Street, which is to the north of the old hospital location. As I recall, at the time the hospital purchased this lot, they did so to clean up the area. Since that time, the hospital actually has no use for the property. I'm checking with you to see if the city council, if there's any interest in the city, if the hospital trustees would simply deed the property over to the city of Decatur. I'm enclosing a GIS plat map of the lot. As you can see, it's actually broken down into 2 half lots. However, the hospital does own both. And that came to me from Adam Miller. Y'all know where the lot is, right? I mean, it's a stone gravel lot. I talked to Jeremy, I talked to Phyllis, and neither of them see any benefit for the city to own that lot. Just more to maintain, more to insure. Does anyone else want to weigh in on this with an opinion? I know, Craig, you'd kind of talked to me one day, thought maybe we should. If you still feel that way, go ahead and voice your opinion.
The only thing is if you need utility work or anything in that area, it'd be a good place to...
I don't ever foresee us needing.
I drove by it yesterday, it's like a community extra parking, there's 5
Yeah.
or 6 somebody's cars
Right.
sitting around there, yeah.
Yeah, I drove by it too, and I don't think it's a headache. I have to tell those people they can't park there, so I say no.
Yeah, the only thought I had was if in the future, 10, 20 years, if across the street, if that's developed into something, it could be of interest, but I'm not sure it's worth that today.
If the city didn't want it, could the hospital sell it? It had a house on it at one point in time. They tore it down because they needed additional parking.
Yeah, that was for the emergency room.
Back in the emergency room
Yeah.
days, but
It may depend somewhat on whether they excavated everything, the foundation, or whether they buried it there.
What's that?
That was the emergency room parking?
No, it's just extra parking.
I'd be inclined, Mayor, to say we're not interested.
Right across the street from the
It was across from another parking lot that they had there, it was just overflow.
Overflow.
It never was developed or maintained.
No, just they threw some gravel on it.
I would imagine if we don't want it, they'd probably make the next door neighbor, one way or another, a heck of a deal. I would imagine. They'd probably want to get rid of
This
it,
probably counts.
so. Is that okay? Just let them know by consensus, okay. Then, Melissa, you wanted to discuss, I think, during the Board of Works meeting about the facades and the grant recipients for this year?
The facade scoring committee has been through all the applications, and this is what they've come up with. I'd like everybody to try to keep this to yourself, even this evening, so that we want to be able to contact all the applicants and let them know.
Prior
This
to,
list is to let you know what the scoring committee decided. You'll see at the bottom, there was $50,000 in designated funds for this year. We had $21,223 carried over from last year. So total funds available are $71,223.64. Under the grant awarded column, you'll see we've got about a $1,500 cushion. You'll see that the applications that the committee would like to award. A lot of wonderful applications this year with a lot of good work proposed.
Can you explain the percent reduction? What?
You can. With the amount of money we had available to award, the businesses on this list, the committee felt very strongly about awarding what's on here, and so this makes sure that this list gets money. The percent reduction was to get to that budget amount, to get the list in, to get the people funded with as much as they could within the budget.
Melissa, will this be shared with the Main Street Board?
Yes.
and it was a segment of Main Street that was the scoring committee, correct?
Correct.
Yeah,
It was the design committee,
the design committee.
but the Main Street Board has not seen this yet.
I think ultimately it's a city council decision, though. It's our city's money.
I'm not saying that, I'm just saying...
Saying that they haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
I think it's a great project, Melissa. I just wanted to tell you that, I mean, you can just see the difference downtown, to me. I mean, it downtown looks a lot cleaner, neater. I mean...
The quality of the applications went up 100% this year. I think once people saw what was done and what could be done with the money, it inspired them and they got different ideas about what they could do.
Not only the facades, a perfect example is the salon across the street. They took the facade money and then spent way more doing the whole building.
Investing the whole
Do you know how much, I mean, this is how much it was awarded, but do you know how much total project?
This amount requested column, so
Well,
double that would be the amount of work done.
so it is a, okay.
Yes, the amount requested is the amount,
They're saying that is,
That's the half.
that'd be the half. And then the building owners would do the other half.
I see one of them is greater than the, what, 15 was the most?
That is correct.
they went in this more than one
There's,
building.
Okay, multiple, okay, got it.
yes,
Got it.
there's multiple
3 or 4 buildings.
parcels.
Yep. Okay.
and each parcel came in underneath the $15,000 limit.
What do you need from the Board of Works?
Are you guys okay with this?
Okay, so if the Board of Works says, yes, we're okay with this, then you notify the people, and then does council have to do anything? No.
We notified the business owners, and they've got some paperwork to complete, and then we allow them to get started.
Were there applicants that didn't get funding
Yes, there are.
because of not following rules, or?
Because of incomplete applications.
Yeah, I think every year you have a few that just fall into that category, don't you, Melissa?
This CCD, is that what, I don't know if they...
This comes down to, well, we moved it. It was coming out of CEDIT, now it's coming out of rainy day fund.
Next year it'll come out of CEDIT. You know, we'll go back to that.
Oh, we'll make a new plan this
Yes,
year.
yes.
We'll pass an ordinance to them, or to do a 2-year plan for CEDIT. We can put it back into CEDIT.
But you don't, so you're not, this is year 2, it's not us, right?
But,
Well, the funds are already there. It's just whether you guys are
We've already
okay with
appropriated the money
committee
for
selecting.
the facade program. She's just letting us kind of know and getting our blessing to say,
How many people apply?
Go for it.
We have 10 applicants.
And some of them, like the one on here, can only, as a business owner, they said they can only afford to do half of it. Now they're doing the other half, which is great. The first half looks good.
I think it's making a big difference.
absolutely.
Exactly.
So in the next week, we're going to work to contact all the applicants and let them know the decision and how we're going to move forward.
Melissa and Wiley, both of you let the design committee, is that what it was? Thank them on behalf of us for scoring this and keep it going. This is year
2.
2. And we got 3 more years of this.
And Wiley, I'll work with you on
Cool
how
stuff.
to notify Main Street first. We had some applicants that were on the Main Street board, so I want to make sure we're sensitive to that.
So,
Thank you.
Thanks, Melissa.
so okay, you don't need the Board of Works
No, I don't think.
approval?
I'm making a pile for Scott.
The next thing is, Jeremy's back up here again. Master Drive, bids, we advertised for bids for the water mains for Master Drive. Had pre-bid meeting, then the bids were opened last week. Was it last week, Tim?
Yes.
And there were 3 bidders, and the low bid only included a 5% security bond, is that what it's called? Bid bond. And by our advertisement, it called for a 10%. The second lowest bidder included the 10%. I know Tim does not really want to weigh in on this tonight, but he gave us a lot of information. He's contacted several other attorneys around the state. He's talked to Tom Pittman, he's talked to the attorneys at AIM, and he's even talked to some other local attorneys, and the opinions that we got all kind of varied, in all honesty. But Bill and Cam, did you have a chance to read this? Personally, myself, I'm going to go ahead and weigh in. Jeremy and I talked today, and we both believe that the way Tom Pittman said it was best, and that was the fact that when they filled out their bid bond with a specific amount in that space, it would not allow the governmental entity to enforce the higher amount of the bid bond required in the specifications, because the bond contains an affirmation amount being covered by the bond. So by them writing that amount, that figure in that space, affirming that that was 5%, yes, these people did come back to us then and say, hey, we're from Fort Wayne, and Fort Wayne it's only 5%, and we just assumed. Well, we've turned down people before because they assumed, and personally, I think we have to disallow the low bid the difference in the low bid and the second lowest bid, do you guys have can you share the numbers with us?
Yes. The low bid from underground contractors in New Haven was $353,230. Second bid, plumbing excavating, Decatur, $361,442.12. The high bid, Crosby Excavating out of Fort Wayne, $379,521.35.
So we're looking at a difference of $8,200 on the second low bid. And I think
This is really, it's following case law, right?
Yeah.
The Schindler and Hill bidder.
Yeah.
the only responsive and responsible bidder was the one who provided the 10% bid bond. And
Crosby also did 5%.
Yeah.
Underground did 5%. Fleming was the only one that followed
the statute.
Yeah, and if I can, first of all, I told the mayor I'm going to recuse myself from giving any legal advice on this, and not because I have a conflict, but Scott Ainsworth in our office has done work for Greg Fleming, and so I don't want to give the appearance that somehow Greg is getting the contract because of Scott doing work and me and him being in the same firm work. We don't share fees. We have separate practices. I don't do work for Greg, but it still gives the appearance. So I'm uncomfortable with advising you, other than I will share with you that statutorily the board is to award the contract to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. In this particular case, all three bidders are responsible bidders in that they have the experience, they have the equipment and manpower, and the capability of doing the job. The issue then becomes, are all three bidders responsive to the bid specifications? And the real issue is whether the deviation from the bid specifications is a material deviation. And that is subject to some dispute, or not dispute, but debate among different attorneys. But the bottom line is a bid bond is designed to protect the city in the event that the bidder withdraws its bid before you can enter into a contract, or the bidder walks away and refuses to sign the contract, in which case then you're faced with delaying the project, rebidding it, and possibly at a higher cost. And, you know, so it's an incentive on the successful bidder to enter into the contract, but it's also a protection to the city. So that's the issue. The city did reserve the right to waive irregularities, but you cannot waive a material variance. So the issue really is it a material variance? And if so, then you make a finding that that is a significant enough deviation from the bid specifications that you reject that bid as being unresponsive, and you move on to the next bid, the lowest bid that is responsive and responsible.
So, in short, our recommendation is to reject underground contractors' low bid and go with the second bid with Plumbing Excavating at $361,442.12.
Jeremy, can I ask, was there an pre-estimate to what it might be?
Yeah, and
Was it a lot less? About 100?
it was less starting out until they went back and realized that he didn't have everything in the estimate.
And we're within the 10% now, right?
And we're within the 10%, so it is.
Actually, all three bids were under the engineer's estimate.
It was like 370.
That's 377.110.
Yeah.
Okay. So this would be paid, out of that total, $261,442.12 would be paid from the water utility, and Phyllis has $100,000 set aside for infrastructure improvements for this project, so we would like to use that 100. and then a 261, 440, 212 on top of that to pay for this portion. The rest of the project, the money has been set aside, you guys get approved, so once we get by that phase, we should be able to get the project pretty well wrapped up.
Yeah, and regardless of who we go with, I hope they can get on it pretty quick. Indians are getting restless on Master Drive, and I don't blame them. And then, we do this water project, then we give them all new driveway approaches, new curbs, and a new street, and some street lights, and Master Drive's going to be in Fat City here.
Well,
So-
and you also have to keep in mind, this is also 3 blocks of Washington that we made up a lot of overtime and materials and asphalt and everything in the past. And so we're taking care of 2 streets with this project.
Yeah. And what we have already done there with the storm sewers, during these last 2 rainfalls, we've not had any homeowners telling us that they had any basement flooding, so that already seems to be helping, so. Board of Works, what are your feelings on the...
Well, I think it makes sense. I think that it's in keeping with, I think what we got from Barnes Thornburg was pretty clear.
Mhm.
So I'll make a motion to go with the recommendation to drop the lowest bidder and accept the second lowest bid.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same, thank you.
So if we do the right thing, so.
And now that we've done it.
Is Fleming ready, Chairman, is he available to get on this?
Seemed like he was, the last time it was bid, he was,
Ready to go?
ready to go. His house been pushed out a little bit, but I talked to him a little bit yesterday, and he said he's going to go right away. So he can get going on.
See,
You
you need to make a find the lowest bid, which is not responsible to the variance.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. We need to make a written finding that the lowest bid was not responsive. Is that just something that, do we need to make that a matter of record? I'm getting time to
I think we do that and send it to the...
Or do you want
You have to send it to
We all sign it?
I mean, you can, or you can sign on behalf.
The bid is accepted this 6th day of June. The following conditions. Should I write that right in this acceptance thing then? Should I write that right? Oh, this is Fleming's bid, okay. So we just need to
I
submit
think what, on the other one,
the other person's bid. You put it on.
I think you can put it on there that it's rejected on the basis that...
You guys to sign that. The last thing I have for the Board of Works meeting is an update on the city's health insurance for next year. And Phyllis has great news. We had our meeting with John Kintz, and basically our health insurance, we will not have any increases.
No increase and no change in benefits, so that was a good thing. The only thing that changed...
It's only $1 million. So it's only $1 million.
Yeah, only.
Dental did go up 2.1%, which is estimated about $2,000 more a year.
But we're not going to raise it to the employees. So for the employees for next year, everything with our already fantastic health insurance coverage will remain the same. And Board of Works members, do any of you have anything else? Tim, did you have anything? Yeah, Phyllis does.
Well, we don't want to give this to you, but here you go.
I do this at this meeting? Okay, I have a letter here. He's not even here yet. Dear Mayor Ken Meyer, please accept my resignation as of June 9th, 2017. I will continue to consult Kevin Hackman part-time at an agreed-upon rate until it's determined he can complete all tasks with guidance. Thank you very much for the time I have been able to serve the city and the utility departments, and it's signed sincerely, Dan Rickard. Dan, after working for the city for 7.5 years, has accepted employment elsewhere, and we advertised the position internally, which is what our rules say we need to do. We advertise it internally, and I'm happy to say that sitting right back here is our new utility auditor, and we're calling him Kevin Hackman. While Kevin is not a certified accountant as such, he's taken several accounting courses. He's also been this past year the owner and proprietor of H&R Block here in town, and has extensive tax preparation services. And Dan, by me being able to move him into this position, he has been able to come in early each day this week and work with Dan all day long. And I don't know, his head's probably spinning a little bit right now, but he's getting a crash course this week. And then after this week, as I said, Dan has agreed to come in on an as-need basis for an part-time hourly rate to help train him. Dan was fortunate enough, Dan replaced someone who was retiring, Bob Ladd, and was able to shadow Bob for well over a month. And even after that, Bob Ladd was kept on a retainer and came back and counseled Dan. So Kevin's got his hands full as far as everything he has to learn, and we maybe have to keep Dan on as a part-time worker for a few months here until Kevin has everything under control. So we welcome Kevin to the city. Kevin previously worked out of the operations department, public works department, if you will, and he was a sanitation engineer. And he's worked here for just a little over 2 years, and good things happen to those who are patient. So you do a good job. And I'm also going to mention this at the council meeting for the benefit of the media. So
Kevin has been very patient. He has worked with me the whole time that he's been employed by the city. He's done a wonderful job. I have a lot of confidence that he will do well in this position.
yeah, Mayor Schultz hired Kevin, or didn't hire him. Jeremy hired Kevin, but with Mayor Schultz's strong recommendation, knowing that while working on the sanitation truck really wasn't going to be his cup of tea, that something down the road would open, and didn't know it happened this quick, but we're happy. So, anything else, Tim, you have? Welcome aboard.
Yeah.
Tim has something.
Okay. And this is something that I'll share with both council and Board of Works, but Mike Pettibone contacted me, and this is something that we'll bring up at the next meeting, but Mike has requested that a new lease agreement be entered into for the safety park, since the city now owns Worthman Field and Safety Park is located on it. So I told Mike that wasn't something we were going to be able to do tonight, but we'd try to get it scheduled for the next meeting. In the meantime, maybe we can get together with him and discuss possible terms, and we can bring that to you for your consideration. The second thing is there was an incident today, I guess, involving a dog that bit somebody pretty badly on the leg. In looking at the ordinance, the police department contacted the animal control officer to impound the dog for 14 days, which is what our ordinance requires. But it also then talks about if the animal is deemed dangerous, and by definition, the fact that it caused injury to a person, it's defined as a dangerous animal at this point. We're to give the owner kind of an order that they have a certain period of time in which to comply, and if they don't, then we can take additional steps to enforce our code, either through daily fines or even go so far as to seize the animal and put it down, if necessary, to protect the public from other people being harmed by this animal. So I don't know what you want me to do on the order. You know, what I think clearly should be done, and it talks about it in the ordinance, is that the owner should be required to keep the animal confined in a secure enclosure at all times. And when it's not, you know, if you're moving it around between the house and a pen outside, or if you're going to take it to a vet for care, that it's got to be controlled by an adult. The dog's got to be on a leash. You can require it be muzzled so that it doesn't bite. So I need some direction from you in terms of what you want in this. You can also...
a residence?
Pardon?
Was it a residence, at a park?
I think it was an apartment, and I think the person that owns the building came on the premises, and the dog came out and, I guess, bit her pretty badly. So, I don't know what you want me to put in this, but I'd like some direction before I send a letter out.
I mean, I think that obviously we have an ordinance and that says what we're supposed to do, but the question is, how is that enforced? Do we go check on them to make sure that there's a...
If we get complaints that the dog is not being kept on the property in a secure setting, either inside the house or in a pen outside, if we get a complaint, we literally can cite them for violation of the ordinance and violation of the order that's included in this. Once this order is served, they have a right to appeal it. They have to do so within 5 days of getting the order, and then it comes before the Board of Works, and you hold a hearing on whether or not to keep the order in effect or whether it should be modified.
So that's our responsibility. The injured individual can do further, but that's...
Yeah. And in fact, I probably indicated in here that we would encourage the owner to consider either finding a different home for the animal or possibly putting it down himself. If a dog's willing to bite somebody, there's a good possibility it'll do it again. So, here's what I said. I mean, the order that I just penned this out 20 minutes before I came over here, but at all times the dog is to be confined in a secure enclosure, whether inside the home or elsewhere. Anytime the dog is removed from one secured enclosure to another, the dog is to be leashed, controlled by an adult. If you want it muzzled, I can put that in as well. At no time is the dog to be permitted to escape from a secured enclosure or to be allowed to run at large. The dog is to be kept on the owner's premises, and the only time it can be taken off the site would be if it is in need of medical treatment.
So this apartment complex allowed dogs?
I think it's a home. I don't know the detail. I don't know who the person is.
Do you know, was this a home or was it an apartment complex?
I couldn't tell you.
Couldn't tell.
I have not gotten the report yet.
Okay.
Yeah, so...
I just know that it was the owner who was going to the residence. It's evidently negligent or what have you on this case. Pretty bad.
Is this the test in case it's rabid?
Well, there's two reasons for the impoundment. The first is if the dog hasn't been vaccinated by law, you have to do it. In this case, as I understand, the dog was vaccinated for rabies, so the impoundment isn't necessarily for that. The impoundment is more to keep the dog secured until something is done by the owner at the direction of the city.
Gotcha. I think that's...
I mean, if that's in accordance with the ordinance, I'd say that's what we prepare unless they're...
Right.
Okay.
I agree.
All right. Okay.
Anything else you have?
I don't think so.
Do you have anything else? A motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn the Board of Works meeting. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, the same. Thank you.